What's up, ladies and gents? I was gonna make this video ranting and crying over thirst traps because, you know, us as men, we're just supposed to bear and grin and suck up so much, and thirst traps is one of those. You ladies know damn well it's not fair, the shots you take and how like irresistible it is. But I'm not gonna talk about that. I'm not gonna embarrass myself and talk about my succumbing over thirst traps. What I'm gonna talk about is how adorable. Psychic ability and how to discern who is legit and who's not legit. And I'm only making this video because with the influx of psychics and mediums and channelers, the dreaded channelers, there's so much more deception around. And doing what I've been doing for like 8-10 years, it's become remarkably easier to really point out deception in this community. Especially since none of what we do is regulated. And so unlike a doctor, you see, when Dr. Love, before any of this stuff popped off, when Dr. Love actually had a practice and was taking care of patients, they cracked down on him quick because he didn't have a license. He wasn't necessarily accredited, I won't say accredited, but like he wasn't necessarily allowed to do medicine. You need to be certified. You need to actually stand before a board to do medicine, to do law, to do most anything professional. But you can literally read a book or watch a YouTube video and you could become a psychic tonight. Or you could become an astrologer like yesterday. And you can start reading people's charts and offering counseling sessions, which is very dangerous if you either were not called to this path, you haven't done this in a past life and you just innately picked it up, which unfortunately a lot of people think they've done that, but they haven't. Or you haven't put in that 10,000 hours or practice. It's okay if you're just picking up the practice and then you start practicing. Because you have an astrologer, and I'm not going to talk about astrology here, but I'm using it as an example. You have practitioners of a craft, right? And then you have people who just say that they're a part of a craft. So you can have magicians or witches or channelers or mediums, or you can have a practicing magician or a practicing medium. And the element of practice here is so important because practicing means that you're actually utilizing your skills and techniques to perfect through your work and get better. A lot of people are not really practicing their cookbook. They take what they've read from other people and they apply them in their sessions with other people. I've been practicing astrology for over 8 years. I literally have like over 3,000 consultations worth of experience. And in these consultations, I take what I've learned in practice and I experience them in my consultations with other people. That's why I'm 5 stars. That's why the work I do is unique. It's not like many other people in my craft. It's because I really do this. And you see a lot of people in this unregulated field who are delusional. If you were to ask them, they will truly believe that what they're doing is right. Especially if you take into account that no one is like 100% ass or 100% bad or wrong. So that small 10 or 1% that they're accurate can make them believe that they're actually doing something good. And the whole purpose of this video is, if you're dealing with people who claim that they're professionals, you cannot allow yourself to hire a professional who isn't really a professional. Unfortunately, even though the responsibility falls on them to make sure that they stand by you, the responsibility also falls on you to discern that you're dealing with a professional. If you let someone scam you, yeah, they have to hold accountability, but you also let them scam you. And so there's only so much. And this is why, like, it does pay to be a bit more skeptical before you just trust somebody to do a reading. I want to make this a longer concept because there's different facets to it. One, just because someone is good at what they do doesn't mean that they're professional. Two, just because somebody might not be as popular or good, if they're professional, that can make up for it. And I want to really harp on the professionalism here. A lot of people use these, crafts to fearmonger people into buying more product. Oh, you have a curse on you, so you need to get this candle. Or they use this to low-key hit on people, which is just really horrible. It's a phenomenal taboo. Let me not even say phenomenal, because phenomenal is actually an awesome word, and this is just pathetic. So keep that in mind, because once again, there's going to be so much more deception, and everyone's intuitive. Once again, doing this for 8 years, I used to practice doing readings on Keen, and I would like get psychic readings from so many different readers just to see, what's up and who knows what, and just to feed my curiosity. And I would see that most of these people have such astounding reviews, but all they do is cold reading. It's so ridiculously easy to pull tarot cards and tell you exactly what you want to hear and be vague as fuck. Seriously. And make the average person feel that they got a comprehensive reading, because most people just want to feel listened to. And so most of these people on the phone are just listening to you, and you're unloading what you're going through, and you feel you've been helped, but they're not really telling you anything. They're being completely vague. And in this sense, as much as I may have problems with, materialist, reductionist scientists who think all of this is hogwash, I respect them a lot more than I respect these frauds, because you can utilize their methods to discern cold reading and Barnum statements. The only thing that I don't agree with them is that they rule out the possibility of actual genuine psychics, which they're supposed to. They believe that it's a material reduction. So they don't believe in solar spirit. That actually makes sense that they would believe that. But for those of us who are in the craft, who have to maintain integrity and actually build, like, once again, we don't have regulation. Like, we don't have a board of people to officially be like, okay, you can't practice this. You're a fraud. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're toxic. You're this, you're that. We're slowly but surely getting there. We don't have research institutions to research, like in medicine, like in law. The only research institution we have really is the internet. So you can't really fault us for the progress we're at, but you also have to keep in mind this allows for so much frauds, and people who are mentally ill, who think that there's some special god or that there's some special wizard, maybe because they know a spell. Like, a lot of people have not put in the practice. They might have 1 or 3 successful consultations and think that they're a master wizard, but they haven't put in that 10,000 hours. They haven't put in that 10 years, like myself. You feel me? So keep that in mind when you're dealing with somebody who says they're a professional medium. Because once again, it's okay to be a beginner. It's okay to be at a stage where maybe you're a little vague because you're not trusting in your ability. Because that happens sometimes. Someone can give you a reading that's wonderfully vague. Like, they're not being specific to anything, but they say some key information that your spirit guides now confirm in a way that legitimizes the reading. But then for that person to call themselves professional is misleading. A professional can let you know off rip what you're going through, and within a minute it has to resonate. That's a professional. So I want to clear away misconceptions, because we make a lot of excuses for readers because we're not too educated on what a proper reading should be, especially because of how abstract it is. You can't really just put cookie cutter lines on it. Everyone has different modalities in the way they tap in, but certain things should be universal. You should not allow people to vaguely lead you on. Okay, don't necessarily, if you're getting a reading from someone who's a psychic, who's intuitive, who's a medium, who's a channeler, remember, they're saying that they're channeling higher beings. So these beings have a higher dimensional aspect. Like, I've done a reading with somebody who didn't say they were a psychic. They were a babalao. Okay, this was a cowrie shell reading. This was a consulta. Okay, so he actually summoned the Orisha. This dude just threw cowrie shells on the ground, and I did not tell him anything about my life. And within moments, he's talking to me about how my mother is a doctor, about how I do astrology, about what's gonna happen if I follow along a path. That is legitimate divination. None of this foo-foo tarot card reader shit. Of course, he was much older in age because he had a lot of experience. He's been doing this since a child, okay? He put in that work in. He didn't just do this for 2 weeks and think he was a master, okay? So, like, keep this in mind. He had no prior knowledge about stuff. He didn't tell me any vague shit like, oh, I think your mother might be in a healthcare profession. He told me like, oh yeah, your mom's a doctor. Like you're do something where you're seen around the world and you talk about the stars and it's like, fam was on point. And it's a rare few. You have to appreciate the rarity of how you're not just gonna run into people like this. Just like you're not just gonna run into an astrophysicist that has extensive knowledge of the stars. These are specialized fields that take years of research and work. You have to, and in honor of Virgo season, you have to honor the work. You have to honor the process. You have to honor the work. Okay, do not celebrate people who may give you some intuitive insight, but it's not really conclusive because it's still vague. I will even fault myself on this, but my track record, I'm 5 stars for a reason. I've given tarot readings, astrology readings to people who email me back on how accurate it is. I mean, just go to one live reading and you'll see. So you'll see, I'll literally pull cards that say the same word of what I was saying to corroborate before I put it. Like, it's magic. And that's not to toot my own horn. That's to once again remind you there are levels to this shit. Okay, once again, it's okay to be in a practicing stage, but we can't enable this in this sense where we basically give everyone a free pass, and you can do that by deciding who you actually support and who you actually encourage. That's why I like to stick more with astrology, because it's more of a science. I'm not really giving it up to like what my intuition says, even though I'm intuitive as fuck. In fact, if I lean more on that, I could be psychic with no tarot cards. But it's just something to keep in mind. When you're dealing with mediums, when you're dealing with channelers, okay? If any medium is telling you, remember, these people draw on higher beings. When you do it right, like that Babalawo, it's specific. It's not vague, my friends. If you're dealing with them, and mediumship is the one that gets me the most. I've never called myself I've never like put myself out there as a professional medium, but like I've actually done mediumship before, at least once or twice, where like I literally just mentioned, hey, someone's dog died. I'm not really into this type of stuff, but if you know, letting you know it's okay within moments, I'm getting messages back like, hey, I wasn't even gonna watch your channel. I was just wondering about my dog, and then bam, I was brought to that point in the video. Stuff like that. And I wouldn't even consider what I did like true mediumship. But like if you're dealing with a medium and a channeler who consult higher beings, and even if you ever see me on that vague shit, call me out. Like, I am not above reproach. That's why even doctors who, when they mess up with the board, they have to, you know, be held accountable. I'm not above reproach. If I have to sharpen my sword, let me know. But if you're dealing with mediums or channels who are like, oh, I think you had a grandma or a grandpa, or yeah, did your grandma die recently, or this and that? That's not what true mediums do, B. A true medium is going to give you proof within moments. All right, let's just settle this nip in the bud. You had a 76-year-old grandmother named, what's her name? Lucy. And she's very disappointed in the fact that you didn't want to see her before she died. Like instantly, baby. Like the channel is clear. If you don't resonate with that in a minute, that's not you being too doubtful. That person's just not there. They're just not on that level, and they can't call themselves a professional. Now, it's different if someone is not practicing, but they consider themselves that, and they're just building their skills. I'm just making this video for you to be mindful so that you don't fall for frauds. Because a lot of people are doing this vague shit and they'll give you intuitive insight, but they didn't really do what they said they did. So y'all stay blessed as always. Peace.